Okay, welcome to the regular council meeting, February 25th, 2025. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Costa Jr.,
Here.
Councilmember Fernez,
Here.
Councilmember Villegas,
Here.
Councilmember Hernandez, Mayor Julian.
Here, we have a quorum. Please, will you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item is a moment of thanks, appreciation, or condolences. And I have one, Mr. Rosario Chayo Armenta, passed June 14th. I'm sorry, February 14th. So long time member of the community and a lot of family members there. So condolences to the family. Anybody else have anything? Nope. Good. All right, thank you for that. And then the next item is item 4 is agenda review. Is there a council person that wishes to change the order of business as presented? Not too easy. Item 5 is community participation. The first individual that have on the docket is Ms. Beverly Taylor. Hey, Bev. Thank you. Is your button pushed?
Push. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, ooh.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Beverly Taylor. I'm the coordinator for Guadalupe's National Day of Prayer. And I'm here tonight to request the council's permission to reserve the city's parking lot at the 800 block of Guadalupe Street for our event that will be May 1st this year. And the times that we would be requesting is from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And there's an hour of setup from 11 to noon. The event is from 12 to 1, and then cleanup from 1 to 1:30. The event will be bilingual, and it's going to be similar to last year's event. So we'll have a sound system. We'll have 2 to 3 songs that we'll play. We'll have a Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have some speakers that will be praying for our nation. The plan would be to set up about 20 chairs. We'd have 1 to 2 tables to have water and some snacks complimentary for the people that will be there. And thank you for your consideration in this, and if there's any questions.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, that this has to be an agendized item.
Yes, because of the master fee schedule requirement that it be a city council event.
But I think in terms of reserving that, normally it's reserved, but I don't know if we reserve it.
I
They
think
put
you
a-
authorize it and then staff can take care of the details, if I remember
Well,
correctly.
actually,
Well, if I was just calling it up, the
okay,
master fee schedule basically lists the events that are recognized
right,
to take place there. But the council has the right to add others.
right. we
So
need
if
to
it's
do
not
that.
listed, then we'll have to do that. I'll have to bring it back to you for an agendized
Okay.
item. Consent agenda.
Yeah, so if you will write a note to Todd and ask, basically request what you need, and then we can go from there. So,
Thank you.
okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Second request to speak, Mr. George Alvarez.
Actually dealing specifically to 2 items. Number 1 is lack of service by the animal control people at County of Santa Barbara. We're paying money for nothing. There's a lot of dogs loose. A lot of people have their dogs not registered, licensed. And the sad part about it in this town, no one cleans the shit off the grounds of their dogs. They don't have any self-respect on other people's property. That's pathetic, but that's what's going on from that perspective. So it'd be nice if these guys come at least once a month, check on licenses or outreach specifically dealing with educating the general public. What are the needs to facilitate some public health for the humans that don't step on things on grass? That's one area. Another area specifically is our ordinance on chickens. As you're well aware, eggs are expensive. And because they're expensive, it'd be nice to have your own chicken to lay eggs. Unfortunately, we have a rule that you're not allowed to have chickens. Maybe we look into this for the economic sake, it makes common sense. Santa Maria has them, Orchid has them in their cities. So something to consider, look into it, the probability of helping the community, financially get some relief from that perspective. Thank you.
Just a comment. I recall we allowed chickens, but no roosters. And we can look at that because I think that there was like 4 or 6 chickens that you can have, but no roosters.
I know that's the rule in Santa Maria, but it may not be here. I'll check it and get an answer for you before the end of the meeting.
Chief?
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure that we, it's not a bad idea to allow chickens under this. It's not like it was in the 1920s or 30s, but that's up to the council.
Christina, you, okay.
Mr. Evans came by our office today and advised us of that. This is my third contact by citizens asking for that. But we did do an investigation on code compliance on citizens who did not do that. So what we talked about was at the very least, I could write a staff report with or to come to council for you guys to look at it to make a decision, whatever way that you may want to do.
I think we need to bring it up. So, George, Mr. Ellis, you're the next request to speak.
That was on the other public safety number 9.
Well, it says, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ooh, just in time. All right. Todd, you want to introduce?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Mayor and council, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Mr. David Trujillo, and he's our new Public Works Director, and we're excited about him being here, and it's taken a lot of pressure off some of our staff, including me. So without further ado, I thought maybe I'd introduce you, David, if you might want a few words.
Okay, okay.
Want to
Man
say
of
anything?
many words.
Anything?
Okay,
Okay.
welcome. Okay. All right. Any questions of him since he's sitting there where we can? No? Okay, all right. All right, the next item is the presentations Royal Theater project update. Presentation by Mr. Andrew Goodwin Designs, and I think Mike, sir. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Pleasure to be here again to give council a status. Mayor, how are you? How's everyone tonight?
Good.
Great. Well, it's a condensed presentation. I'll just want to let you know that the project today went in for a plan check. It'll be going through that process to achieve permit approvals. And it currently is in the hands of Tom as well. He's working through the final cost estimate for this project as well. And so what I have on the screen here is a condensed version of the plans. I don't have someone can advance the slides. Perfect. Next slide, go ahead. So this project, as you recall, renovates the existing Royal Theater marquee in the front, the inside of the building, the seats. It gets modernized with equipment, a projector, lighting, and all the facilities needed for a full working theater. And next slide. And this is the back building that is added to the rear. This is a community theater and classrooms and support space needed to promote the arts. And next slide. This is also an outside amphitheater for outdoor presentations and gatherings. It's enclosed. Next slide. And this is the site plan showing a front plaza. There will be a front plaza developed on the street frontage. You can see on the side there, there's the gathering space and then an ample rear parking lot. This is all part of the construction project. Next slide. Seen here are the elevations. Next slide. Next slide. Floor plans. You can see that the theater is equipped with seating. I believe it's around 200 seats. Next slide. Next slide. This is the roof plan. It will be re-roofed. The facility will be re-roofed and have all the conveniences of new HVAC and restrooms. Next slide. This is what we call a reflected ceiling plan. The interior will be addressed with multiple finishes, respectful of its existing design as a period theater. And we'll retain that, where the back building becomes more of a modern interpretation. This also goes through a historic review, so it is on the historic registry. Next slide. And next slide. Next slide. Oh, this is not the right package, but what we do have is I have as the last slide, an update for you of a timeline. We submitted a short package today to the city for review, but we do have a schedule in that package. Yeah, there it is. Very good. Fantastic. So this is the timeline moving forward. As I said today, we submitted for a permit. There will be a plan check period of approximately 2 months, and we expect to have our final responses in by April 24. And then we'll be preparing bid documents for a bid package that will be published along to the city. We'll go through a bidding process, and the projected bid date is mid-May, and with a potential award for this project around the end of June, and construction would start in the summer, should everything align. And here we are, full steam ahead. Any questions or?
You have a plan check response and plan check 2, number 2 back on the submit for permit. And that's 2 weeks apart. The plan check 2, what are you talking about when it comes to plan check 2?
Well, usually we anticipate a 2-round plan check. So we go in for the first plan check, and there's a list of corrections. We get through that, and then maybe there's some things to tidy up for the final.
Okay.
We have a pretty good track record. We get it all done in the first plan check, and usually there's something to do for a second round. But most of the time we're through with it
Okay.
in a two course period.
Okay.
Bidding, just a little word on bidding. Usually it's a 30-day period set by the city to get bids in. And then, the bid award and preparing and getting on site, a couple more weeks. And so, in a perfect bidding climate, that's how we see it.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Thank you. I like seeing the outdoor space, that it has a wall to kind of block that air. Is it that I see 2 classroom spaces available?
That's correct. The back area has 2 classrooms and a green room. So the green room is obviously for talent that comes through there. And then the 2 back rooms are flexible. It allows for a community theater. And then another room where you can store or create kind of a second wing for what we call a two-sided community theater, right? You have audience on the side and the front. And then there's also an outdoor space adjacent to that where you can construct and build, and then a roll-up door for set construction on site. So it's a very flexible project for the community. The second go around, we've brought it into a single story in the effort to reduce cost. And we've been careful all the way through to maintain cost so that we have a successful project moving forward.
Awesome. What is
Yeah.
the occupancy for those two classrooms?
That's a good question. I could read that off the plans, but in my recollection, it'll easily seat 50 people or so in one room and probably 30 in the other.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's with, not fixed seating, but movable seating. And then, of course, standing room a lot more.
And I think that facility room is independent as far as use is concerned from the actual building itself.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The whole back building is soundproofed and can function on its own. If you had something going on in the front theater, you could actually have something in the rear at the same time.
I think on that picture that you've got there, it's probably hard to see, but on the third picture on the right, you can see actually the Guadalupe Cafe on the right, and that's from Olivera Street looking back there. So there's a little bit of parking in the back, but
Right.
there's entrance from the back and then also, of course, from the front. So.
That's right. We have a loading dock, and all the required ADA spaces for the area. We're required to do electric vehicle parking as well. So we're all set up for that. It meets the current code standards. So it's a modern forward project. And it's certainly cost effective from an environmental standpoint.
You know, go ahead.
Awesome. I do see the construction date being like right around the corner. Is there any challenges that we may foresee that are not listed here?
Well, we have yet to see the final cost estimate. That's coming your way. In my estimation, the bidding climate is really good. Construction's happening. There's a lot of participants in current projects. And I know we had a previous project for the Guadalupe Community Center in the park. We had a really good successful bid for that. A lot of contractors showed. So no, at this time I don't. Going through the historic process was smooth. And we still have the funding source to review the plans. That's just around the corner. We don't expect any issues with that either. Yeah.
And I think on the white wedge that you've got there, that's where most of the HVAC system is gonna be located.
Yeah, we're covering up all the rooftop equipment.
Okay, cool. Any other questions from staff? Right, what do we need just an update, huh?
Just an update
Very good.
today, and
Very good, yeah.
there will be another meeting down the road on cost.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
coming your
Thank
way.
you.
Question from the audience? None? Okay, thank you.
Pleasure being here
Okay.
again. Looking forward to a successful bid.
Yeah, us too. The next item is item 7, consent calendar. All the following items are presented for the city. One more speak? Who? I'm sorry. Thank you. Making farmers market a reality, presentation by GBA's Consensa Guadalupe Farmers Market. Stephanie, sorry about that.
All right, I'm happy to see everybody. Most of you know me and usually wear gray or black, but today I'm hoping for that sweatshirt. Soon enough, guys are going to meet me at the farmer's market.
Okay.
So, the GBA and our farmer's market committee wanted to come here today and ask you, for what we need. In order for us to move forward with the farmer's market, we need a location. And we had, for the last 2 years, we've experimented by having the mobile market from Route 1 come to the city and locate over at Leroy Park. And what we discovered was that really wasn't an ideal location. It did not reinforce the businesses downtown, and it didn't, a lot of people didn't know it was even going on. So we would like to ask you for a number of items today. And at the very least, we're hoping that we can come up with the designated location that we're looking for. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So here are our asks. The first one is to find a location. The next one is we'd like to waive or reduce any fees you have for the Cosecha Guadalupe Farmers Market. We're also interested in having supervision by police, the police department, or city staff during the market. We are required to have some supervision. We're hoping that you will accept our garbage, and we're hoping that you can find us a storage location at City Hall for pop-ups. So I'm going to go into each one of these briefly, but that should be what we talk about. So we are interested in having the city downtown parking lot as our farmers market location. And if you notice in this slide, we've have several photos. The farmers market would be a perfect spot because the pavement is ideal. It's right in the midst of our city. It has a gazebo. So this is the ideal place for us. I know that there was some question about, well, where would people park? But at most farmers markets around our county and San Luis Obispo, you have to walk. I know in San Luis, you can't get a parking space without paying for it. And oftentimes you're walking several blocks or you're several floors before you get to the market. Right now, Guadalupe has street side parking. We also have the parking lot. I'm not sure it's available, but across the street at the old Far Western, that normally is vacant. But we would like to take the city parking lot and use this for the market and not have parking going on here unless it would just be minimal and for the ADA compliance. Next slide, please. So the city parking lot is accessible to residents, to people just coming through on Guadalupe Street, and to the downtown businesses. It has, like I said, ample space for a market such as we are envisioning, which would have fresh fruits and vegetables, cottage foods, arts and crafts booths, and portable bathroom facilities with a warm water wash station, which would be required for our vendors. It also has the on-site gazebo that could be used for live entertainment. And we can't move forward with any of our applications unless we have a designated location. Next slide, please. So this is a rough map of where we would put things in our farmers market. We would have the fruits and vegetables separated from the cottage businesses, and also an area for food trucks. And as we mentioned before, the bathroom facilities and a water station. Next slide. Besides a designated location, we would like to have any fees that the city would want to give us either waived or reduced. We have recently, the Dune Center was awarded a grant for the farmers market, but the money can only be used for marketing. So that means we still need to raise additional funds to pay for our health department permits and our ag department permit. We also have to pay a market manager. This person would be involved with the market around 10 hours per week, not only during the market, but also in doing all the record keeping that the USDA and the state would require. And yeah, and as well, we have to pay for equipment such as pop-ups and weights. And there are unforeseen items. Like we just learned last week, we took a visit to Route 1 and learned that we actually have to print out our own chips for use with the Market Match program. So, so yeah, that's our next ask. If you can move forward to slide 3. We are required also to have some sort of surveillance on site. We're hoping that our police and can come by and be there. Otherwise, we would need to have a private security company come out for the market. Right now, we're looking at Sundays from 12 to 3 as our best market time. And so we would need to set up around 11 and break down at 4. So for those hours, we would want to have some supervision. And then because we have to have bathroom facilities on site and a garbage receptacle to get like paper towels and things that the market basically becomes trash, we're hoping that you will allow us to dump that bag of materials into, say, the senior center trash receptacle at the end of the market, rather than us having to pay for it. And lastly, we will have to have our own pop-ups and signage, and we need a place to store these. So we tried to come up with all the possible things that we need to ask for, and these are them right now. So that is the end of this presentation, unless there are any questions that I'd be happy to answer.
Is there any intention to make money off of the farmer's market, or is it strictly just to, I mean, not the vendors per se, but the GBA or anything like that? Or is it just to be better for the community? Like, are you guys going to benefit financially from this?
I don't think that we will benefit for the first couple years.
Okay.
The goal is that we would be able to be self-sufficient so
Sure.
that we can because with our vendors, I think we were looking at Route 1 and how they do it. They normally get a 5%
Mhm.
payment back from the vendors. So, I mean, we're hoping to stay afloat so that we can keep growing the market, but not, go below.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Would the market be every Sunday or one Sunday a month?
The goal is to have an every Sunday market. I've been going to the Route 1 market for, I'd say, 2 months, really to get my head around what it's like to be in charge of a market, and working alongside Shelby Wild, who runs that market. And what happens when you have a market every week is that you get to know the vendors and they get to know you. And there is a special community going on in that you also see people in the community, and you can't really do that if it's not happening frequently enough. So our goal is to have it happen every week. Also, we didn't mention that we are really, one of our main interests is making sure that the market would be accessible to all levels of our community. So we want to be able to have Market Match and the EBT program, and those take a little time to get in operation, but that is our goal.
Just a quick question, Stephanie. You mentioned that there's a need to raise additional funds for the various permits and things like that. What are your plans to raise those funds?
Well, right now we have basically an informational sheet. We are getting a QR code on that. We already have a bank account set up, and we're ready to bring funds in. So our plan is to promote, what we're doing and start getting donations.
I have an additional question. Is there the requirement and they need to have a security or police present at all times?
I believe so. I was just looking at there's like a farmer's market manual put out by the USDA, and it looks like a police presence or some sort of presence is required.
Thank you.
One more question. It seems like you guys have done a lot of research, so I trust that I know the answer to this, but have you surveyed the communities around here and determined that Sunday 12 to 3 is the best time compared to other farmers markets? Like, I know Thursday night for San Luis. Are there any others going on at that time that you know?
Well, the Route 1 market is going on Sundays from, I believe it's 10 to 2. We did do surveys, and also with the group Fresa, they did surveys as well to see when the best times would be for people in our community. We have a lot of people that attend religious institutions, and that day was the day that they typically would maybe go to church and then go out and do the shopping with their families. So a lot of the other farmers market times might not work for our families, and we thought Sunday was the best time at this point.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. And as you heard before, we can't make a decision, we can't actually take action on this until we have the specifics. Do you have a business plan?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure no, we don't have a business plan. We have the procedure that we know we need to follow. Before we can file the application, we have to have a designated location.
I think,
So,
I think there's quite a few, it's like a Rubik's Cube. You turn one in terms of cost, in terms of location, in terms of the availability of parking for, as you may know, the church group uses it now. So do other businesses in the community as far as, you know, their services. So I personally believe that that's a good location. It's just, how do we work around the different requirements that is placed in terms of time, in terms of, you know, any of these requests in terms of, do you know if you have resources to pay for security?
yeah, well, like I said, I'm anticipating that at this point we don't. We
Okay.
don't have the resources. What we have is a grant that will cover marketing
Okay.
expenses, and we're trying to gather the money that we need. And that's why we're seeking out any help that we can get from the city.
Oh, I can wait.
Okay, my thought is that there's the PowerPoint that you have here basically indicates several expenses that will be placed on the city. And that's why I asked about a business plan. What do you have out there in terms of resource? And you may not have it right now, as you mentioned. But I think that again, we can't make a decision on what you're requesting because it takes a little bit of time to look at the specifics.
Okay.
Again, looking at the community, and I don't know if the GBA has asked the local businesses that the GBA is involved with about their impression about the time and the location. I believe the location is perfect. It's just a matter of the timing and what that would do for the local businesses. What is there, 3 churches or different communities in there that use that on the Sunday? So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered based on what you've got here. But for me, personally, I think that's a good location. But we can't make a decision on that.
No, I
now.
realize somebody instructed us at the city to
Sure.
come up with our asks. So we're most interested in a location.
Yeah, well, that's
And then-
perfect. The ask is perfect. So now we get the ball rolling. So.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the rest of the stuff, I realize that, you know, you may need more information. I mean, we have already we don't have a business plan, but we have already come up with basically a vendor application. So it kind of outlines what's required out of the market and what they would pay and what we need from them. So I feel like we've got a lot of pieces. We're just trying to put them all together.
Now, I believe we can, Todd, you mentioned you.
No, I was just saying that some consideration would be, you need potable water probably. You'll probably need bathroom facilities of some sort. And just those, and electricity, there might be some costs there to the city. So I just want that as something to think about as you're putting your plan together.
Yeah, no, we are looking at having portable bathrooms already. But that is a definite requirement for what we have to do.
I think that I'll ask for a consensus here in terms of their location. Is that okay? Well, how about at the school in McKinsey? No, just kidding. No, I think you have the consensus from the council in terms of moving forward with the location.
Okay.
It's just all these other elements that we need to, to make sure that we're not stepping on anybody's toes out there that will impact the restaurants, impact the churches. and et cetera. I don't know if you had a.
I just have a question on, because you stated that there were 2 other businesses that use that facility, that area on Sundays.
There's at least two,
At
at
least,
least, and there's probably 3 churches,
Have you
maybe
at all-
two churches.
do you know, have you reached out to them if they're willing to give that up
No, we haven't reached out to anybody.
or share the space? I don't know what they do, but
Yeah, it'd be hard. You said share spaces? That's
Mhm.
full. It's packed.
Yeah, no, it gets
yeah, it
scattered.
looked like it was packed from her, just from her diagram. And then that like city cost, but
Yeah, and then we have to look at the city costs because it's um,
I
it's a
have
city cost. Go ahead.
Sorry, excuse me. I have a question. So you said that you need to have a location to put the application in, is that correct?
Yes.
What else does the application require? Like, do we have to say, oh, yes, it's going to be 12 to 3 on Sundays? So that you also need the time and date for the application?
Yeah, they're gonna want, they need a time and date, and then they'll ask who's our market manager. So all that's required.
Do you have a market manager yet?
We have a person that is willing to step in as the market manager initially.
And then are there any other requirements to put the application in? Because essentially, I don't want to hold you up. I think this is a great idea. I think that the community needs a farmer's market. So, but like the mayor said, there's pieces that still need to fall into place. But are we able, I mean, do we have to get that as on an agenda item to vote on the location?
Yes.
Yes, this is the same location as the other event, so you'll have to approve the event to be on this location. And then, of course, there's all the other logistics. You may change your mind as to the date and whatnot. So we can't even represent to her. There's a consensus of council that supports moving forward, but she can't put on the application that this is the approved designated location until
Would
you
make
take
sense, yeah.
action.
Right. Okay. So, and then but we'd also have to vote to ensure that the 12 to 3 on Sundays was
Mhm.
correct too. So I'm not sure how to get there without doing like, I mean, I'd want to drive by on a Sunday and make sure, I don't know how to get to that piece. I don't know what the next step would be. Go ahead, Todd.
If this weren't allowed, do you have a secondary location? Or is this just the one you really need?
Well, this is what we're thinking is the most ideal
Yeah.
place that will actually promote local business.
Mhm.
I'm not sure there is another one. The nice thing about this is it's paved and it's very even.
Mhm.
On the opposite side of the street, there's the Far Western's parking lot, and it's not in great shape. So I don't feel like that would be a wise move, just because if somebody were to get hurt, fall down into a crack, that would be awful.
It's almost like we need to look at an MOU in terms of the specifics that's requested in terms of who provides what, where, when, how. I don't know how quick you can put something together. Maybe Judy can because she's the president of the GBA. So
Well, we definitely need to bring something back
Yes.
and staff, you need to hear from staff, their concerns and all that.
Yes.
You need to wear all the information. So obviously we'll move on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
but
we'll have to
as soon as
see what
But
you
we
present.
just need to bring it to you as soon as we can.
We'll have to work off what they present.
Yeah.
and see.
I have one more question. Have you guys reached out to the community as far as seeing what days would work best for them? Or, like, for example, surveying people, or I know you guys,
We did
try-
our initial work with that.
Okay.
It was over a year ago.
okay. So
Um,
that was with direct like community members saying, okay, I see ya. See him back there. So, okay. So yeah, so that seemed like the best day. Cause I was going to say, if we have a conflict on Sundays in the parking lot, we can consider doing another day that might be second best for the community as far as days, something like that. So that's just something to consider as well.
if you don't mind, Mr. Alvarez, you wish to speak on this?
This is a pretty daunting task that the young lady's taking by the horns here. On the parking issue, even though the Far Western, as far as having it there, is not suitable for liability, it can be used for parking.
Mhm.
So suggestion is that get a hold of that nonprofit through the city or the officers of both of you work in conjunction with each other to secure the liability aspect that can be used. That takes care of all the religious groups that use it on the regular basis for that Sunday. Takes a lot of heat off and a lot of parking for those groups from that end. I would strongly suggest that if we're working with our police department, I'm a stickler about that because we don't have enough. That's just my opinion. All right. But it facilitates the need downtown. If we do have our officers there, not only can they take care of the facility, they can also write tickets for U-turns. Self-vested. Trust me, over 20 within 2 days. So this is an issue I support gladly from that perspective. Again, usage of police officers and look into working with other nonprofits to bring in activities to support the farmers market, to educate the people on their venues and draw the people in. That's what I would suggest from that end. It's way overdue. I support it wholeheartedly. And let's see what happens. Thank you.
I was just curious if Maria wanted to share anything about Fresa and their work.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mireya Piña, and would you mind specifying, because we go kind of far back with Fresa?
Something brief. I know that you guys have been working really hard with the community surveys, outreach, education, just something brief.
Sure. So I think I could just share that this concept of the farmers market kind of started from Fresa in 2020 when we saw a need for farmers markets that took the Market Match program. And since then, we've been working together. It's really great now to see, though, how we have other folks here in Guadalupe who have also just have said, we're here, we want to help, because as you've been hearing about it for some time, we've been working on it for a while, and we kind of lose a little bit of that momentum, and it gets a little like, oh man, are we going to get it across the finish line? But that we've had a lot more people join in on these meetings under the GBA. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm really hoping we can solidify the location. Just today, I got an email. There's a new food distribution happening in Guadalupe at the school, which is fabulous because the time that it's going to occur, it's going to be at a time when a lot of our working community members get to make it to these distributions. We host one the last Thursday of the month at a time that's not really convenient for those who are working. And then it kind of just brings me back to like, it's great, but one more distribution, it's saying there's a lot of need. And I think that through this farmers market and part of the intent, which is to have some of our community members use their CalFresh benefits, what a change that would be. So sorry, I have a cough drop in my mouth. And ultimately, Fresa is still working together with the committee through this grant that Stephanie shared that the Dune Center got through the Lompoc Guadalupe Initiative. That's specifically where we got that funding. I believe it's around 26,000, but it doesn't really help us when it's not going towards any of the expenses that we need to get it off the ground. So that's part of the reason that we're here, hoping to reduce some of those. And Fresa is still continuing their meetings. We still want to see the market, but also just like a broader, wider advocacy around food. So I'm not sure what else to add, but thank you for hearing us out. And thank you, Stephanie, for having so much courage and being out here to represent us. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for all the work you guys have put into this. That's, I mean, a lot of work, I can't imagine. So I don't want to do anything to hold it up. So hopefully we can get this on the agenda and figure out all the details so we can help.
I have a question just on the deadline. Do you have a deadline of your application?
Submit it, they'll let us know. We've been holding off this time because we we didn't have the pieces. So once we have these pieces on the designated location and the time, then we can move forward.
I have a question on that actually. So I kind of hit on this before. So you have to apply with the market manager, the location and the time and the day.
Yeah.
What happens if the day or time changed? Like, let's say you put a day or time on the application, but it later it just didn't work out as to be the right day for whatever reason. Does does that mess anything up, or is that a possibility that could happen?
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that we reapply and
Oh,
then start the
man.
whole process over.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, because again, I don't want to hold it up. So if that was like the one, thing that was kind of holding things up, maybe we just move forward and ask for forgiveness later, but
I think ideally we try to find try to get it as solid as we can before we apply, just because we know we've got the application and then there's a lot of different things that need to happen after that.
Judy, do you have anything to say as a GBA president?
I would just like to say thank you to these ladies, because when it came under the umbrella of the GBA, I know that they have been working so tirelessly before I even became involved with it. And so I'm just very honored to be involved in the process and able to help kind of get this going, because I do feel just as they do that this is a definite need in our community, and also that not only will it benefit our community, but hopefully it would also bring others from the outside to benefit from our community, and just being able to kind of go to our beach or the businesses downtown. So at the same time, everything can kind of come together, and hopefully, and then when the theater comes in too, that would be another aspect that would just pull all of these things together. That would just bring some really good attention to Guadalupe, and some people to see how fantastic it is here. So, but again, very, very honored just to be involved with this, and I'm so appreciative of the hard work that, because I I just kind of came in and it was just, now I'm just kind of guiding things. So so they have worked so very hard, very, very hard.
Yeah, thank you. I think you heard that there's a consensus that's the place it should be. And I think Mr. Alvarez's indication using the parking lot at the Dune Center, the old Far Western, since you're affiliated with them, then it's a matter of just cleaning it up a little bit to where, people can park, the church folks can park there and leave. So those are the two biggest issues that I would have. But
Agreed.
I think the result, I think the one, again, you saw the consensus that's good location.
Mhm.
It's right in the middle of town. You've got 70-something units, apartment units just down the street. You've got a lot of folks that live in those apartments that have kids that can't walk all the way down to the park. They need to be able to, especially with EBT, the CalFresh. That's what's needed. So, any other comments, staff? No? So get with Todd in terms of some of these, the reports that come back to us, so we can move on to approvals. So,
Yes, we will get on that. Thank you.
and then
Thank
with
you for
staff
your time.
too, to look at, the asks in terms of the police, the location, the storage area. So there's a lot of details. So the big one is the two, the parking and also the
Yes.
site. So
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now go to the consent calendar. So, thank you too for reminding me to read my agenda. The following items are presented for the city council approval without discussion as a single agenda item. Is there a council person that wishes to approve one of the consent items? A, B, C, D, or E? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as noted?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as noted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion from the public or here? Anybody on the web? Anybody call in? Nothing? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Next item is management reports, city administrator information only.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know that Christina's been to the nuclear plant, so myself, and you might have gotten an email. There's 3 dates, and March 20th, March 27th, or April 3rd. If you're all interested, no more than 2 can attend. And it's amazing, actually. It's pretty cool if you want to go to see the nuclear plant. It's March 20th, March 27th, and April 3rd. And I can forward you PG&E's email if you want again.
As
And
long as they do a good barbecue, the first time that
Oh.
there's a big barbecue.
that I
Yeah.
don't know. It's pretty neat. You go out in the water and I mean, it's neat.
What do you mean you go out in the water?
You go out in a boat and they go tour around and
Oh, they do,
put
the
on
the
jackets.
inlet, yeah,
Yeah, it's
okay. the
pretty
outlet.
neat. Yeah. I'll forward it to you.
Good.
Also, it's confirmed the community cleanup at Leroy Park, April 5th, from 8 to 2.
Chief, have you seen that layout?
Uh-oh.
Excuse me, sir?
You seen the layout for the cleanup, for the garbage cleanup? For the
No, sir, I
refuse?
have not.
Okay.
I just can't conceive how that would work
Recant, I will make sure
at
that
the Leroy Park.
it's the waste management. I'll send it to you.
Because then we would have, the reason I'm asking is that if there's, like, when they normally do it at McKinsey, there's a line of cars, along the
Okay.
side of the road. So hopefully the line of cars don't go outside to Highway 1.
I'll get that to the chief ASAP.
And then I wouldn't assume anything's happening with the Boys and Girls Club that day. I'm sure that has to be coordinated.
That's their designated.
I'm
It's
sure
not
the
confirmed yet.
city administrator will
The
be
Public
working
Works
with my
Director can
office
work on that.
and
Yes.
Public Works as a team. We will address all these issues.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll report back.
Saturday. The date again?
April 5th. Tentatively April 5th at Leroy Park, if the chief's okay with it.
Saturday, yeah. Anything else, Todd?
Also, I just wanted to inform you that the Recreation Services Manager will start on Monday. So we did cancel the regular meeting, just because we didn't know. We went through background and everything's cleared. And so that's why I canceled. I figured there's no point. But at this point, maybe we'll set up a special meeting with, the, commission.
Good.
Yeah, whatever Monday is, yeah. March 3rd, I guess. Yeah.
Monday, March 3rd.
And then the person that would replace Esther is the coordinator will start on Tuesday, the 3rd
The 3rd or the 4th?
or the 4th. Geez. Okay. 4th. Let's see, what else do I have here? Also, I wanted to, you received a full document of a housing element, the cycle 6 housing element. It's not going to be considered until March 25th, but Larry wants you to read that ahead of time so you're prepared. It's a Herculean document.
Need an audio.
It's a Herculean document, but like as the mayor said, there's a lot of good data in there. Let's see, what else do I have? The chief and I and Dr. Handel met today regarding the incident last week. And
Can you explain that? Yeah.
I'll defer that to the chief, but
Okay, all right.
I wanted to say that the one thing I'm going to look at is the flashing lights, and I'll work with our Public Works Director and the city engineer to see if we can work with the Caltrans to put some flashing lights at Guadalupe and Maine.
I'd also like to suggest that crosswalk be painted yellow because the yellow is a school zone. Is that correct, Chief? When you have a yellow crosswalk, that denotes a school zone. So I don't know if that's technically a school zone, but just a thought.
Think what you would talk to, you're gonna connect with Meg with the Caltrans.
Yes, Meg, but she might refer me to a different
Okay,
person.
doesn't
but yeah,
matter, as long as we
Yeah.
have Caltrans.
Yeah.
On the hook, yeah.
I would
And,
just like to hear the update from Caltrans as well.
and then the mayor will have, or the chief will have more on that.
Yeah. I won't.
Sorry, Freudian slip.
Get up here, chief.
I haven't been feeling good today. So.
Give me your gun, I'll be with.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Cosplay. Anyways, one more thing. There was some mention during the goal setting session that you wanted me to provide you with an update on potential federal cuts and different things. And I'll send something to you tomorrow as a group. I won't go into it right now, but I'll write something up and put it in an email to you. Okay? That's what that ends my report. Thanks.
You had something there?
Todd, I do see on our proposed future council agenda items that we are going to have a proclamation for Women's Month. Do we have anyone receiving that?
I haven't found that yet, but if you have anybody that you would like to.
I was
ask-
just thinking of our Park and Recreation Commission, because they named one of our parks Las Mujeres Parks.
Okay.
And so maybe if there's a commissioner, I would-
Okay, Emily?
Emily, yeah.
Okay, we'll ask Emily. Yeah. Okay.
Did you want to talk at Caltrans or oh, you don't want to talk? Okay. Any questions of Todd? Any questions thought from the audience? Item 9, let's see, make sure that's it. Okay, Director of Public Safety, Chief Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and our community. Before I get into my report, just real quick, I want to say thank you very much we got 3 residents out there. Hope you apologize because I say just your first name, but Chris, George, and Deborah. We all work on a regular basis, and I'm very blessed because I get out there and I get to see these faces, and everyone has different things going on. But I can always really rely on them to really kind of support the police department in the city. And we really do appreciate it. And it's nice to see you guys here because you get to hear me vent, but then you always step up to help. So I appreciate it. And Chris, don't forget your son. Your son owes me his grades. Okay.
Okay.
He's a good kid, I tell you. First of all, let me get into the accident that occurred yesterday at Highway 1 and Main Street. We had a student from McKinsey that was going through the crosswalk. And as everybody knows, that's a 4-way intersection. Vehicles were trying to turn, others didn't see other vehicles. She's coming across the street and she gets hit by a vehicle. Officers get there and we do the report, but and we talk to the young lady. And she says she's fine. She wants to go home and so forth. The issue for us came later on during the day. Yesterday, I was in the office when, because the father at the scene did not want to provide us information. But they came to the office, the mother, the father, the daughter, and another child, and Spanish speaking. So I was listening through interpreters. The issue that was really sad with is the young lady, when we talked with her separately, the young child, the only reason she did not want to go to the hospital was she was afraid her parents would be picked up by ICE. That's something that we didn't share yesterday, but we talked about this morning in our meeting with the superintendent. And so not to get far afield, it's sad when you got children who can't be children and they're worried about their parents. But she's doing good. We dropped off some things from the police department to show our caring and concern. So we're doing that. And the other part, I appreciate George. George stays on my case, but he hit such a valid point, and I just look at the notes I have here is I hope in our next budget issue, we really do address the lack of police officers. Our lieutenant took the report yesterday. Today I was late here because I was out taking a report. It's just me and him. We have no police officers. We have administration in the field. And the reason I was late, I appreciate our public works people. George makes sure that I do U-turn enforcement downtown. So he saw me today. It's down there. And then I went to the crosswalks when the kids got out of school, and the kids do know me, and that's very appreciative. They're very happy taking care of that. But I was on the other side of town, but I went over there, and our public works calls me right while I'm there at the school because I had left the area and Lieutenant was on another report, and our city jail got vandalized again. I finished the report, finished up with the pictures, but our public works guys were there. They did a great job. They're going to finish and clean up everything early tomorrow. I was going to send you an email. I just didn't have time to shoot you the email, but they are on it. And I really appreciate them. They knew exactly, they called me so we can do the photographs, do all the evidence and everything, and it's fresh. That was the part that was very frustrating because we had just left the area to go do something else. And so, and the citizens across the street, we interviewed them. They said people were there, but they didn't want to get involved, which is understandable. Yeah, I agree, but I always got to try to put myself in their position, but you're absolutely right. Because we just had the graffiti on Main Street, but 2 days ago. Points out that was out there and your staff went out there and did a great job. And we just had the graffiti over at O'Connell at the barbecue pit. So, these things are definitely wrapping up and citizens come in and they definitely let us know. And so, so I have Patrick from our fire department. He's working with me to try to look at a comprehensive video surveillance system for the entire city. We've been band-aiding because we don't have an infrastructure to be able to get all that information because it's on web and everything else. So I have him, he's now trying to do research to kind of do something because one, it's not my budget to even kind of handle something like this, but we're trying to put together to see what we can do with the tower and everything else. So that is in the works. And on this situation here, we talked about not only Caltrans, but I've contacted them also asking about traffic mitigation issues, about changing the road in one aspect, about moving heavy vehicles off of Guadalupe, about the speed, about speed bumps, about anything. And everything it's a highway. We're not going to change anything. And talking to CHP, very good, so forth, but they let us know it's in the city. That is your concern. That is your issue. Even when we had the death from the driver, CHP said, we appreciate it. It is a highway, but it's your jurisdiction. So these are things that we have to come up with ourselves. So we talked about not only with the traffic mitigation items as far as the flashing light that I appreciate our council person, Jean brought up, but we're looking at long-term too is talking about somehow getting parents or other volunteers to help us with doing traffic control as far as parking guards. There's at least 9 different locations, if you look throughout the city, that children are crossing. And we haven't even opened up Escalante or the new school. And we need to plan ahead for the future to be address those things because we're going to have more kids, more people in the street. And so we're going to look at a real long-term comprehensive plan to help us to be able to mitigate some of these issues before they become major issues.
Can I say something? Sure. Dr. Handel, we want to give him some credit too, because he's been in touch with Senator Lamone's office. Even though the project in that area is 32 million, I believe, for the upgrades, he's in discussions regarding the flashing lights. So he's going to call her again and try to push, because Caltrans, they own it, and we can act quicker if on a local road, but when it comes to a state highway like that, it's more difficult, takes more time.
Just real quick, so I can finish up and we can move on, is also working with, you see our office is PD, we're kind of like a one-stop shop, also working with planning and Larry, talking about, we got complaints about outdoor barbecue pits and people conducting business with it. So we're looking at our different ordinances, working with planning on that. They've had some complaints. I do not want to give out where those are at the time, like while we're doing the investigations. And also, I appreciate the calls I get is we always have to remember we have a lot more different languages that we deal with in our community. Even at our senior center, when we have to take action with some of our seniors who are not always cooperative. So I want to make sure that all our locations are always safe. And I know some up there know exactly like what I'm talking about. It goes from 1 to 100 years old, individuals that we have to deal with. And sometimes they're not in the best of moods. And sometimes there's language barriers other than Mixteco, Spanish, and English. You'd really be surprised. So I appreciate those on the dais who helped trying to decipher some of the language barriers that I have to work with. Thank you. And the last is Deborah, thank you very much. We have completed the flyer with her help and input. She's an outstanding graphic artist. So we got it in Spanish and English. So now is our next task is 2,500 copies. Is that correct? Okay, well, we're gonna make the copies, or we need you guys just to input it? No, it's gonna be a problem.
It's too slick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, shit, should be printed out in the printer then.
Yeah, black and
your microphone's on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, really.
I'm sorry.
Got it.
I just noticed, I didn't know that was the flyer. The flyer that I seen had like very little color on it, so I approved it. I approved that flyer because it had a little color. That's a lot
Yeah,
of
well, we
color.
hadn't done official. We had to go back and forth, so we had to get the right terminology and everything on this. So to make it work, what would be, I
You can have a little
apologize.
color, minimal.
What's your
color.
suggestions?
It's these pictures. He said that the pictures like those will clog up the machine.
Careful, you got somebody sneaking up on you then.
That's fine. That's
This is
fine.
our machine and it's a true thing.
I'm
She's
not,
talking about.
this is what we were told by our maintenance people who maintenance the machine to not have like big pictures on there.
Yeah,
We can have like a little bit of color, but we can't have like.
unless you
bit
take
like
it to a
this big
printer and
picture
print it.
for that.
May I speak? My husband was a copier repairman for 40 years, and if that's happening on your machine, there's something wrong with it.
But we're not a print, we're not a
You're not a print shop,
company
and this is, you do a large volume of prints
in
a
black and
month.
white.
I understand that. But, and the chief and I sort of discussed this because we had heard this. And,
I don't think.
well, it should be part of
So-
your contract.
So this is just what they told us, is not to have a lot of color in the, in the papers that are getting folded.
Well, and also, I mean, Isaiah runs the machine and he's had
Mhm.
if problems when he's ran it that way.
Mhm.
So it's not like we're, just making it up. We didn't.
Yeah,
care
I know
less if
that.
it's color. or
I know
not.
that.
If I
I-
can make a suggestion, and I appreciate Deborah and Janice and Todd input is we will dilute some of the coloring so that we can make it work. Deborah did an outstanding job and I appreciate that. We're going to take some of the color ones, and we will take it to the businesses so we can put those up as we agreed. So we will do some walk and talk with this, and then we will make this appropriate so that we can get this in the mailer. So now everyone can be happy.
And what's our-
Janice, which one did you approve? What, was it the same, just different colors or?
There was just
Original
a
one I
very
presented.
small amount of color with there was like a little rocket and I'll show you.
Well, there was nothing to be approved. I think we sent a example that was out. We had to work between ourselves because we had to change languages and everything. So Deborah and I worked and I had to make some change because we had three different versions. And we finally worked it out what was best for language and appropriate for city and police department. And then this is what we finally came
So
up
that's the
with.
verbiage. The verbiage is
I don't-
approved.
So
I don't care about the verbiage is.
Yeah, you're
don't
looking
care.
at the
I'm
color.
looking at the color because it's our machine.
Yeah.
And if this messes up our machine, this messes up the billing. So
So-
I can't.
we will fix this so that it works and that we will get it out.
How many copies were, I'm sorry?
2,500.
2,500.
2,500, okay, that's a lot. But
Yeah.
what is the cost for a printer to print them out? 5 cents a
Oh,
copy,
yeah.
2 cents a copy?
What do
50
you mean if
cents?
you went to a print company?
Yeah, take it to
Oh.
a printer, yeah.
It's not the printer, it's the folding
No, I'm
machine.
talking about,
Oh,
okay,
Yeah.
and then you mentioned you have to fold it, you can fold it by hand, so.
We can print them. It's just.
So that's- You don't want to fold 2,500 pages by hand.
Volunteers.
If you're gonna do it by hand, then you can do a half copy. Yeah, you can do whatever you want if you're gonna do it by hand, but
All I'd like is direction before we start making 2,500 copies because
yes.
that's gonna mess up my machine.
Oh, yeah, that's not.
I got one police machine,
Yeah, it's not
one
designed for that.
copier to do this. So
Okay.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
can dilute the color
Right.
so it works and it'll work with there.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Have Chief, are you updated? I've got a request to speak on your report.
I am done. Thank you very much.
Mr. Alvarez.
Some of the things, just to let you guys know, our famous Governor Gavin Newsom is looking for people that write grants for the homeless. Right now, as I speak, we are lacking in it because, again, going to the fact that when we book someone, it's $200 a booking fee. We have to pay it. I'd like to see our department look into it, find out a certain amount of money. This community comes out ahead by having a certain amount of spaces available to pick up the homeless. We don't have facilities to take care of them. County does, sheriff department does, then they comply with the mental health. We need a system from point A to take them over there, let them do the assessment, take care of the issue, and the city's safe. We do not know what these guys are in their head because they're not vetted. A lot of them are Looney Tunes. We've had a few here. They're in Santa Maria, thank God. You see them still walking over there. We've been lucky. The most we've had here has been 5 so far. So my concern is we have to work as a community with the county and the sheriff department to work on getting problems solved before they get out of hand. That's my concern with that on public safety. Also, Boys and Girls Club dealing with public safety. We haven't discussed here anything to prevent any form of flooding. If another big flood, I'm not talking about the levee, we got it dredged. Took me 20 years, but we got it dredged. Okay. What are we doing as a community to safeguard that facility that we invested a lot of money on? There's ways of getting barriers cheap to get them. You don't need a levee to take care of those buildings. That's something we have to look into. And again, we need more police officers. We've been lucky. You may go not like that. I take this thing very seriously. No one has gotten hurt.
Excuse me,
yet.
I was agreeing with you. I said,
Not like this. Never mind.
Yeah,
I apologize.
yeah, I was agreeing with you, but I don't need your attitude at me, sir.
Well,
But I would
don't
like
need
to
your
point
help.
out,
I can
wait,
get
hold
into
on, I'm
debate.
talking.
Excuse me.
I'm
Okay.
talking. You just said that the homeless people weren't vetted. Were you vetted to move into this community? Was I? I mean, I just disagree with what you're saying. Being homeless is not a crime. Being houseless is not a
No,
crime.
Fine. I'm not going to get in the debate in that. But
There's no debate.
no, I know because that's your opinion. I don't want to get an opinion. Again,
30
public safety.
30
I'm sorry,
seconds.
Arizona. Yeah, no
30
problem
seconds.
on that. So my thing, they're not vetted. No one knows where they're at, what their histories or whatnot, because they do have the rights. I explained that. They have rights. But at the same token, we also have rights for public safety. That's my point.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Alvarez.
you.
By the way, we have a grant writer and I spoke to him this morning regarding, the state has money for homeless housing. And he's pushing that right now. He's looking at that and seeing what we could do. So it's not dead in the water. So, we know it's a problem. So thank you.
I just had a quick question for Chief. Chief, do we have any data on how many students have been either hit last year or this year?
No, I'm sure it's somewhere in our system, but do I have that at this time or have we done a research on that? No, we have not.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Chief. Next item, regular business, adoption of city council norms, protocols, and goals statements to guide fiscal year 25-26. Todd.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you all know, on February 8th, 2025, at the Social Club, the city had a facilitator work with us on developing norms and protocols for the council for good governance. And we'll put it on, if you can click up there, it's on there. And then also a set of 7 goals. At that meeting, the city council stated that they needed the following from me, and then I stated some things that I needed from the council. But without further ado, I'll just kind of go into the typical norms. And if you agree to this, we can adopt them. And then also the major city goals, and I can read them off if you so choose.
Please.
Okay, so the norms, and this is for you guys to play together in the sandbox, which you do. You do a great job with it. And so basically, it's to maintain citywide perspective while being mindful of our special interests. Move from me to we, and from campaigning to governing. Work together as a body, modeling teamwork and civility for our community. Assume good intent. Disagree agreeably and professionally. Utilize long-range plans to provide big picture context that is realistic and achievable. Stay focused on the topic at hand. Ensure each council member or each member of the council has an opportunity to speak with an appropriate amount of time to convey their opinion. Demonstrate respect, consideration, and courtesy to all. Share information equally when appropriate and avoid surprises. Be cognizant of some information is confidential. Keep confidential things confidential. Respect the council administrator form of government and roles of each party. Communicate concerns about staff to the city administrator. Do not criticize staff in public. And I don't think you guys are anywhere near, I think you're meeting all these. So at first, I think the facilitator met with you individually and I think they came up with 9 sort of broad ranging goals. And then during the goal setting session, 7 were approved. Some were major, and through the DOT process, in order of, we had major goals and other important goals. And I'll just read the 7 goals. Starting in the major goal category. Develop and maintain a balanced budget for fiscal year 2025-26 by providing essential municipal services and ensuring adequate reserves. And I know that there were some that saying that's the baseline. We have to have the money to do anything else. Develop and implement a communication strategy with the following community partners, focusing on improving the flow of information between residents and the city as it pertains to noteworthy capital projects and other important matters. The Spanish and Mixteco community. And incidentally, we had purchased through the ARPA funds some translation equipment. And my understanding, it's really good stuff. So it should work well for communication. B, the residents of Pasadena subdivision and other local, state, and regional partners. The third major goal was to continue to develop and grow the recreation department by providing sustainable programs and facilities for the community, to include additional services for seniors. Other important goals: explore various revenue enhancement measures, ensure public safety staffing and facilities are sufficient to maintain the delivery of quality public safety services to the community by developing a fire station relocation plan, B, increase management oversight in the fire department, and C, make filling personnel vacancies a priority. The second to last minor goal or important goal is to enhance the working relationship with the Guadalupe Union School District. And the final 7th goal is to develop a city beautification program, especially in the downtown corridor. So if you agree with what you worked on, the norms and the citywide goals, we have a resolution attached with these norms and goals attached to that resolution. If you want to consider that, that'd be great.
Any questions of Todd?
I have you're gonna go around? Oh, I have a question. Let's see. The major goal, the second one, Todd?
Yeah.
Communication. I read it a couple times, actually 3-4 times. And the way I'm reading it is you're focusing in on these 3 community partners, A, B, and C. And so it almost precludes a communication strategy for individuals, residents, or whomever who are not in the A, B, or C category here, unless I read it wrong. Because the comments that were raised previously were tied into just a general communication strategy, getting information out to our residents. And then people would say, well, that we have a website, but not everybody looks at it, et cetera, et cetera. So what I initially thought this communication strategy was to address the entire population here. But then as I read it, it says A, B, and C categories of individuals. Again, unless I'm reading it wrong.
I'm just taking off of what, during that session, what basically that was, what was discussed and on that sort of the cardboard, what, the facilitator put together. But we can always, you can add and amend this, you can change this.
It's just a matter of wording.
For B, instead of saying the residents of the Pasadena subdivision, it could just be like the whole community.
Well, it
Just like-
does,
yeah, the
it
whole-
does say here, though, it says, focusing on improving the flow of information between residents and the city as it pertains to noteworthy capital projects and other important matters. But then I'm not sure. It doesn't really make sense because it should be like residents,
In total, yeah, just
or are those the
Yeah,
other?
like
communication
Maybe a little
strategy.
tagline or like another bullet point within that. Is
Um,
that what you're?
I know
thinking?
you're focusing in on these particular groups and I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But again,
Yeah.
you're taking this group when
isolating
residents
others.
are like that. The community is like that, yeah.
What would
or
you like to add to it?
other important. Yeah, it's rough because we want to I mean, I like the focus on those certain things, but
Right.
I also would like to focus on all residents.
All residents.
Well, I think that first paragraph mentions that, and then you mentioned that focusing on improving the flow of information between residents and the city as it pertains to the noteworthy capital project and other important matters, and then
To specifically
and then
include or
drill
something?
down, we're drilling down into these areas that are outside the normal communication systems, communication.
Maybe it's just adding including, like
yeah.
matters including,
Yep.
or,
Okay.
or residents, that's not gonna work, actually.
Well,
Maybe you want to say specifically, or, you know,
Specifically,
or just drill down into, these areas, these three areas that are noted here are probably outside the norm of communicating to the.
Correct.
Or a little more
Yes. No,
emphasis.
I understand that.
Emphasis.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, so
Yeah.
like the next,
With emphasis to, these individuals.
yeah, or
individual
not
programs.
necessarily an emphasis, but not to,
To include, yeah.
to include or not to disclude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we say that.
You might say develop and implement an overall communication strategy with the focused on, I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
I don't know, it's a little too wordy.
Or just one more sentence that says something like, we would like to focus on all residents include, not to
Not to disclude others.
not to disclude the following or something like that. Cause it's like, obviously we want to include everybody by saying that, but we want to,
But my thing is that
Because
there,
these are your goals.
yeah, I think what happens is that we've talked before about, see, in our community right now, there's no Mixteco, there's no Spanish speaking out in the audience.
Mm.
So by drilling down and to say, we're gonna make an effort to do, that's why we bought the
equipment.
machine for translations.
Yeah.
There's also divide. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's good. That's a legal
Okay.
term.
including but not limited to, that would, how does that sound?
I don't like it.
Okay.
You do, or?
Do-
I don't like it.
Oh,
Okay.
We emphasize the residents as a whole, and then we don't disclude.
Yeah,
these folks,
yeah,
you know?
that we make sure that we can.
And not just include them, but we don't, I don't know, we specifically.
It does kind of say it though, the flow of the information between residents and the city as it pertains to noteworthy capital.
May I make a suggestion?
The wordsmith.
Improving on, focusing on improving the flow, and other important matters, with special emphasis on colon.
Yes, that sounds great.
That way you're not excluding anyone,
Yeah.
but you're
That's perfect.
recognizing that.
Because these three have been outside our realm before. And, there is a divide from Main Street to past there and Guadalupe. And then, we need to really reach out to local, state and regional partners, which we have to emphasize that. So I
Yeah.
think you're right, Phil. We could
That's
use it.
perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Say it again, Philip.
Councilmember Villegas, right after other important matters, before the colon, just say with special emphasis on,
With special
with
emphasis
special
on the
emphasis on,
following.
and then the three
And the
listed.
following.
Can,
It's not excluding anyone. It's just
Okay.
that they're recognizing that there's a little more improvement required for
No,
those three.
just to be clear, the three, A, B, and C, those groups, without question that there needs to be a focus. I'm not
Yeah,
arguing
right.
that at all. It's,
On the following.
I will agree with what you said, Philip. That's
Mr.
fine.
Cinco, can it say between all residents and the city?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
As
good.
Todd said, these are your goals.
Yeah,
You,
these
you
are-
need to
these
be
actually-
comfortable with the wording.
All residents.
Between all residents of the city. Yeah, that's actually, it's a very helpful addition. So
Mhm.
I would recommend that as well, for sure.
In all residents, okay.
And then with special emphasis on these
Yeah,
Yep.
that does
communities.
it.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Any other comments?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Would you, your mic?
Good catch.
And change the unified to union on the school district, please.
Do.
Do we have to change our resolution?
I don't.
No, because
It's not the resolution, it
it's-
incorporates the goals, so.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah, it has them as attachments.
Okay, we're adjusting the goal, so, okay.
I know.
Any further comments? Good, good. All right, is there a motion to adopt resolution 2025-14?
As amended.
I'll make a resolution to approve resolution 2025-14 as amended,
Well, with the goals as amended.
Yeah,
with the goals as amended.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion between the audience or staff or council? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Bernes. Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
and Mayor Julian.
Aye. Resolution passes. Thank you all. Okay, we'll go to
I promise I'll be quick.
Right.
I promise. All right.
Okay, mid-year adjustment, review of the fiscal year 24-25. Janice.
All right, so this is the mid-year adjustments. The recommendation that the city council approve adjustments to the general fund and enterprise funds as recommended by city staff. On June 11th, 2024, resolution number 2024-38 for the fiscal year 24-25 budget was approved. City staff were recently presented with information to review each department budget for the mid-year adjustment. Due to time constraints, the finance director, which is me, has not met in person with the department heads on any budget changes, but has exchanged emails concerning them. Based on analysis of trends, I am providing a review of current and projected information to amend the general fund and enterprise funds. Other city staff is welcome to present additional recommendations for discussion at the council meeting if those additions are reasonable and necessary for the mid-year review. Or city staff may direct, or city council may direct staff to include them for council deliberations related to the 25-26 budget. So the discussion is the specifics regarding regarding my recommended changes for the 24-25 budget are identified in the accompanying resolution and its attachments. The following is a summary of the recommended adjustments. I'm just going to highlight a couple things. I'm not going to go through everything that I changed. You guys have reviewed it, but the general fund revenues, fiscal year 24-25 approved budget revenue estimates were set at 10,648,249. After reviewing, all revenue amounts are expected to be received by the end of the fiscal year, with the majority being received at the later part of the year in Q4. The expenditures, so in the total expenses are $5,334,528. In conclusion, there were no increase or decrease to the overall budget, only the relocation of existing budget amounts. 54% of the revenues remaining to be received and 51% of expenses remain unspent. So you can see we're still at a balanced budget, very close to balanced budget. The one thing I did want to point out is on here for fire, per Director of Public Safety, Chief Cash. I originally had eliminate the fire engineer position to hire for a firefighter position. The cost to do so was less than $8,833. He's stating not to eliminate the position, but to keep it vacant. It still doesn't change the budget, so I guess as the budget, we can introduce, you know, what costs could be added back in the next budget. Other than that, do you guys have any questions? Yes.
What you just said on the firefighter and that the word eliminate, I agree, not to have that. So that was one of my notes. See, what else did I say? Oh, there are a couple areas where it shows deferred comp is short. How can deferred comp be short?
Oh, so if we have like, let me see what you're talking about here in
For
the Parks
example,
and
there
Recs.
in on page 2 administration, it shows it's deferred comp will be short by about 4,000. Then you go down to Parks and Rec, and I just am not understanding how deferred comp can be short.
Analysis of other benefits will be short by.
I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier, so you could have looked into
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry.
No,
it's
I
okay.
apologize for that.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the budget. I think I just did like an analysis of what we currently have on deferred comp, and deferred comp is accrued based off of whatever they work. So what we budgeted might not be sufficient for what is being currently accrued. And then I just did like an analysis where I took the amount that we currently have in there, divided it by the 8 months that we have spent, and then multiplied that average amount by 4 and added it back together. So that's how I saw that there might be a shortage.
You're saying we're spending it faster than budgeted
Mhm.
and or projecting that we're gonna spend more than we budgeted.
Correct. So I may not, so what is budgeted may not be the sufficient amount of what is currently being spent or being accrued. And I only did by an average amount. So if we're spending on average X amount, and then I did, and that amount is multiplied by 4, doesn't add together, doesn't have enough to carry us to the end of the year. That's why I added more in there.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
Does that
what
make
you're
sense?
saying,
Okay.
Because we're not technically short, you're just saying that we could be short if we're spending at the same rate that we're spending now.
Correct.
What, and maybe the term deferred comp isn't what I'm used to, the word deferred comp. What, you could be short on deferred comp if you budgeted based on staff and on like health insurance, they're not taking it. So they get, they are putting the monies into deferred comp if that still exists. And so you hire more. Well, and they're deferred, they have deferred comp as well. You didn't budget for that. That's how I looked at it as to how you could be short as opposed to spending it.
Well, it's a cost is why I say spend or being accrued, or it's still a cost to the
Okay.
city.
Okay.
Not necessarily being spent, but this is something that we have a liability for, whether we're, we cash it out or we hold on to it until they, cash it out. But that was my analysis of what we currently have to the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
From like an HR
yeah.
perspective, I get
She's
what
looking
you're
at,
saying.
yeah, I understand what
Yeah,
you're saying as
yeah.
well.
I should have talked to you separately on this.
It's okay.
That's right.
It's okay.
I-
Maybe,
So you guys
you
get-
might have enlightened somebody else. It's okay.
No, but yeah.
And
And the-
the other question I had was on the term eliminate, so you already
Oh,
handled that one perfectly.
any other questions?
I do. I have another one.
Mhm.
How about you, Gene? Anything? Christina? On the police department, 4,200 department, it's a minor thing. On all the way down on what, I don't know which page it is. It's like exhibit A, 1, 2, 3, it's fourth page. On the very bottom, it says explorers.
Mhm.
And I was talking to Sergeant Medina. And he mentioned that they didn't have any more money in the explorers budget. And according to this, correct me if I'm wrong, it said that there's $2,000 left in there.
Mm,
Very bottom.
That's what so unless something didn't get coded correctly, if a cost came in for the explorers, that it didn't get coded to this account, it might be mixed in within.
So
Like
is
operating
there or is there not
expenses.
money in there?
So right now there is money in there
Okay.
in this line item.
Right.
So if it was eaten up by another line item, that money is still available, not necessarily for explorers, but
Well,
I
there
pro-
was $5,000 given to the explorers, 2,500, excuse me. 2,500 that was given to explorers, right when we canceled the 75th year anniversary. And there was talk of, did you spend it? And he said that he didn't think he did for the explorers. So if you can
Okay.
look at that to see if you mentioned it was pulled from another,
I'll have to look, yeah, we'll have to
Okay.
look through invoices. If you know of a cost that was spent for explorers, that would help
Well, quick question.
narrow
the-
down the.
Pardon?
co- the
Well, I have a question
search.
for you. Who, the gentleman that's in charge of the Explorers said that?
Frank Medina, yeah.
And then
Now
does he have any kind of cost accounting that he could compare?
he didn't,
So he just
he's an
didn't-
officer. He didn't, no, he didn't. really-
I just wonder, like, if he
Okay.
thought that they were out, like, who told him that, out of money?
Apparently someone said that. I don't know.
Chief told him?
Okay.
First, I didn't know about the 2,500. That never came into their account. We did have the 2,000 that has already been spent. I hope, I know I signed to, because they had uniforms, they had new youth. And so I know I signed for that to be sent over. We'll double check if it was coded differently. But all the other money that they have been receiving has been donations that I've been going out to we have a new advisor that's
Right.
been going on, but currently that line item budget for us is zero.
This line item budget for explorers is zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks nice saying we got money. I mean, but
Yeah.
I don't want to go spending and I know
Right.
that we.
Like I said, it
spent
could
money.
be mixed in another account. So it would just be a journal entry to move it back into the proper account. And then you'll see that that is now zero, but then another area would be up 2,000.
Well,
I gotta find
this,
that.
this money was donated to the explorers, not to the city. and I
I've
know
never,
that
I was
there's-
never told of a 2,500 donation.
Well, this is before your time,
Oh, okay.
so. But anyway, there were, if they expended, if they use the money for their program, fine. But if it's gone into the abyss, and then it was supposed to go to the explorers, that's not fine.
Right.
So,
So
will double check.
If
Okay.
this was a couple years
I'll
ago,
double check.
okay. Okay.
But you still have it on here, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Any-
You're looking here.
Yeah, right, that 2,000. Because it was 2,500,
Just so there's possible clarification, they're a nonprofit, so they also have a separate account. This is what I've gotten from the city council 2,000, that other money might have been in their separate account.
okay,
And I can
Well,
double check that.
okay, that's good, then we may be blowing smoke here, so.
No.
Or I might be. Okay, any other questions or comments
I
from
don't,
the audience on the public anywhere? So we have a resolution 2025-15. To the resolution of the city of Guadalupe, city council of the city of Guadalupe adopting budget amendments to the fiscal year 24-25 budget. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution. Oh, man. Sorry.
Right.
2025-15.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All, roll call, please.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Fernez,
Aye.
Councilmember Villegas,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez, Mayor Julian.
Aye. Thank you all. Thank you, Janice.
Thanks.
Okay, future agenda items? I guess
Mr.
we're
Mayor
doing the-
and Todd, I would like to move the cross connections control ordinance off the unscheduled to March 11th. It's the cross connections control ordinance for Public Works.
And we're gonna add the farmer's market to this?
I don't know if it'll be ready on the 11th.
Well,
Yeah, unscheduled for sure.
well, the problem is that they need a decision.
Oh,
on
I
location.
understand. I will move heaven and earth to get it, but there may be things we can't.
What, we can't say that they can, that,
Well, no, we may
We
not
give
have all
them
the
authority.
information for you that you
Yeah.
need to make your decision. That's all. I mean, we'll try.
okay, let's try. Yep.
Quick question. The item that we talked about last council meeting, with the covered porch, not porch. Does yeah,
Yeah,
do we have to talk about that again? Or are we planning?
My
to?
understanding was the council's direction was to schedule that hearing kind of far down the road with.
Well,
the
far
co-
down the road. That was, I guess,
to-
I,
To allow the responsible party to explore options with the building division. Just so you know, I made contact with that individual, or she called me first, actually, because I gave her my card. She understood the situation. I recommended that she hire someone with knowledge about the building code
Mhm.
to help them decide what they could do. And of course, she asked for recommendation, and I said I could not do that.
yeah.
So I referred her to someone I know that knows people who could help her and gave her that information. So the ball's definitely in her court right now.
Were we gonna have another, group, not us, make like, weren't we gonna have, I can't remember what department, but another
It was
department?
the co-compliance hearing officer was
So
gonna,
that's what we're pushing down,
yeah, but my direction was to schedule that hearing sufficiently down the road to
Great.
allow her to explore possibly legalizing it, and then that would moot the need for the hearing.
got it.
And I would bring it back to the council.
Okay,
and-
sounds good. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we touch base on that.
Yeah,
Thank
we've
you.
never really done that kind of procedure before, so I understand why it might. be
I'm
a
like,
little
wait,
confusing.
what's the status on that? Thank you.
okay. Any other future agenda items? Then we'll go to the 13 announcements, the council activity committee reports. Mr. Costa? Christina? Amelia? Did you
Sorry,
say?
I was just yawning. My
Oh,
apologies.
okay.
Tired today.
Okay,
This month on the 16th with my children, I attended Black History Month at Hancock College. It was a really amazing event. We heard Superintendent McDuffie reenact Martin Luther King's drumline. It was really good. I had never heard Dr. McDuffie, and it was a great experience for my children. And then also I am working with Emily Drilling, our Park and Recreation Commissioner, to host a women's event next month. And so we're still trying to pin some things down for that. And I just want to share that the 27th is Thursday. The county will be hosting Protecting Our Immigrant Community on Zoom and in person in Santa Barbara County. If anyone's interested, I can share that information. Thank you.
that's Thursday, right? Yeah. Amelia, nothing?
Yeah, a couple things. I participated in the Fire Appreciation Night at the Elks last Wednesday. Excellent food, excellent. And I also attended a Zoom meeting for Christina asked me to do that on the homeless. It was about a 2.5-hour meeting. And I was brand new to this, and about the first half an hour, 45 minutes, they were talking about a topic I could not understand at all. But it was very interesting. Joan Hartman was the chair, Alice Patino, Mayor, Santa Maria was there. A number of other individuals, various agencies, cities, Santa Barbara County, Housing Authority, of course. And they talked about the different, the homeless housing, plans to have shelters and things like that. And there was an actual agenda, and then people kind of popped in and said, well, we're doing this and we're doing that and that type of a thing. And I can't see. They talked about the different types of shelters, which I found very interesting. This was Lucille Boss, who's the housing program manager for the county. She talked about crisis stabilization units. That's up to 23 hours for mental health. Emergency shelters, which is temporary and short-term. Basic amenities for that. Transitional shelters, that's from temporary to permanent. And that's for a maximum of 24 months stay. They also talked about interim supportive housing, sobering centers, 72 hours. And that's it. She's mentioned Santa Barbara and Santa Maria, and possibly one to happen in Lompoc. And then Mayor Patina talked about Hope Village, which opened March 2024 this year. And there was a lot of publicity on that and interim housing. There are 10 houses, units, I'll call them, for youth. It's interim housing, 10 units for veterans and 10 for respite care. It's a 5-year project. And she emphasized that she talked a little bit about the cleanup of the riverbed. And then the question was, where did the individuals go? And she made a point of saying, not everybody wanted to go to the Hope Village. And in order to be able to go there, though, you need to be drug and alcohol free. That was very interesting. There's a unit that's going to be open in Isla Vista. It's a former dormitory converted to interim housing. And she talked a little bit about a Harris House, which people refer to as the Rona Barrett housing in Solvang, San Ynez, intended for seniors. This was an interesting stat. The fastest population of homeless people are, what would you say?
Seniors. Women.
Bingo, women.
Women.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Let's see, other information. Buellton talked about housing that was going up there, or is there, 185 units, development for farm workers, Mission Hills, there's 49 apartments there, breaking ground in other areas. So overall, it was very nice to see that housing and for the unhoused, the homeless are being, it's being dealt with. This particular person, when he spoke, really caught my attention. That was Sheriff Brown. He gave stats on, first of all, I wondered why he was there to give stats on deaths. And he said in 2024, there were, from overdose deaths, there was lower than in 2023. And countywide, he said overdoses in 2023 were 157. In 24 was 90. It's a significant drop. Of those in 23, there were 157 from fentanyl, and in 24, 54. So significant drops. Of those that OD'd in 23, who were homeless, there were 50, and in 24 were 29. So you can see the stats keep going down. And just over fentanyl deaths in 23 were 39, and 24 were 23. In general, and then he specified of the overdose homeless was, yeah. Of the overdoses in 23 that were homeless was 50, and in 24 was 29. His point was all the stats were going down from 23 to 24. And then he mentioned last week, well, the meeting was on February 14th, there were 5 overdose deaths. And 2 were homeless and they were fentanyl related. And And the next meeting is going to be April 11th. They're scheduled every other month. And I've now been scheduled for all of them up through the end of the year. Yeah, I will continue to participate because it's extremely interesting. It really is to see the different communities are really putting a lot of effort into finding housing.
Too bad Mr. Alvarez left.
I'll catch him and tell him, don't worry about it.
I just like to say that I touched base with a couple people regarding the capital campaign. We have not planned a meeting yet, but hopefully by next meeting, our next meeting, I'll have more information on that.
Last Thursday, I attended a SBCAG meeting. It was held here in Santa Maria. They alternate Santa Maria, Santa Barbara. So last Thursday was here in Santa Maria. And Thursday, we have a actual Santa Barbara County Association of Governments Board Management Retreat in Solvang. God bless you. In Solvang. So I think you're going to attend. We're going to attend. It's for new arrivals, and it's talking about our propositions and the money that's coming in for the next, 10, 20 years to determine what are our priorities for the county. Also there's a flyer going out on Santa Barbara County Promotores, which promoters, there's a 48-hour core training, and what it will do is via the brochure, you will learn to identify and develop your skills to promote health, advocate personal and professional growth, and how to educate your community. Members of the Promotores Network and local organization from Santa Barbara County will present the training. It'll be 6 consecutive Saturdays, beginning March 29th through May 3rd at Riverview Apartments, townhouses. That's from 9 o'clock to 5. And the completion of this training satisfies the training requirements for the state of California Department of Health and Community Service, Community Health Worker, CHW certification. So it's going to be in Spanish. And then again, it's at Riverview if anybody's interested. And I'll just throw a number out there to register. Contact Nancy Martinez at 805-448-2453. A very important part of our community. So that's all I had. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Amelia, okay. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. All ayes. Thank you all.